Ladies and gentlemen, the following is the Pale Ale Pile Driver. Introducing, he is the electromagnetic Colin Maxwell.
Hello.
Hi. We're
and there's Jeff.
Thanks. We're going to review Pale Ale and maybe not do that ever again. We're going to review 4 Pale Ales from kind of near and far breweries and do our comics as well, which we kind of based around the fact that last week was Free Comic Book Day. So I've selected Animosity Tales, and as a request from Scott Burry, I was asked to look at Tank Girl. So I've got Tank Girl Volume 1, full colour, and also I had a wee look at Tank Girl's Free Comic Book Day entry from last year to try and get an idea of where the comic's gone in 30 years.
Okay, I've got Under the Moon, which is a kind of new Catwoman tale, and Deadly Class, which some of you might recognise from the TV show that's been on Sci-Fi since about the start of the year. Okay, so this is kind of a one-off tale in the Deadly Class series. Okay,
awesome.
And beers wise, our Pale Ales, which you might have seen in our little trailer video already. We're looking at Holyrood from Stewart Brewing. That's number 1. We have This Elevator from Manual Brewing.
Weirdest name for a beer.
Certainly is. We've got Arbor's Ekuanot Pale Ale, which happens to be gluten free, and Abernyte Brewery's Tinkletop Pale Ale. So this is the 4 that we're going to be having a look at
Awesome.
this evening.
Here it is. Okay, well, do you want to fire up a beer just now?
Yep, and we've got our requisite bottle opener. There we go.
You can do this.
Okay,
You can do
I'll
that.
do the honours.
I wanted to bring up something for later on. So this is Stewart Brewing from Edinburgh-ish. It's Lone Head, isn't it? It's not quite...
Yeah, just outside Edinburgh. So there you go, and you can get it in the Stewart Brewing tasting glass.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a bit much, but never mind. We'll get tucked in about that and finish it off later. There we go.
I did my research on this. It's supposed to be a real full flavour, kind of well balanced, and we should be looking for what fruits do you get from that? Without looking at the wee blurb from it.
Grapefruity.
Yeah. I know it's there, so I was kind of expecting it. But
not as strong as some of the grapefruity stuff that I've had before.
Yeah, citrus there as well.
Yeah, and the grapefruit comes through in the flavour as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Without being overpowering though, it's really... It's more crisp than I thought from the colour. It's got that...
Yeah,
it's quite
subtle,
dark orange. Yeah.
Quite subtle grapefruit tones in there, but not overly powerful.
That's totally... It's kind of mild, kind of sessional, not overly bitter.
Yeah, very pleasant. I'd drink a bit more of that, yeah.
What's the ABV on that?
I can't remember this one. Anyway, 5 for that.
It's reasonably strong as well. Why did you select pale ales? Is that you like a pale ale, don't you?
Well, yeah, I think so. It tends to be something I go for. I do like an IPA, so I thought we'll go for that. But hey, we were kind of thinking it would be nice to theme
our weeks. Yeah.
Our weeks, and we've got a different theme lined up for next week, haven't we?
We do. That's lovely. First comic. Yeah. Do you want the honours or?
Yeah, okay. Shall I do the first comic? So I'll go for Under the Moon here, which is a little part of a bigger book which is out called exactly that, Under the Moon. So this is a Catwoman tale. So this is from DC Comics, but it's a really unusual DC book. You'll see the artwork is very different from what you would expect from your standard kind of DC comic. It's a young adult comic, I would say. In fact, I think it does suggest sort of ages kind of 15 plus here. So I guess it's going to be dealing with kind of teen to young adult issues.
So this is part of if I'm not mistaken, I think this is part of a long-running initiative that DC are doing. Maybe not long-running, but more like an established entry in DC's output at the moment. They're doing
these bigger sort of graphic novels,
but aimed at this audience.
And
with this
under
kind of spin.
this name DC Inc. I think is their sort of brand.
Is it Mira, the Queen of Atlantis? I think she's got a.
Oh right, okay.
She's got a similar. It might actually be called Under the Sea. Did you see this was called Under the Moon?
Ah, this is.
I think she's got one called Under the Sea. So
okay.
I think it might be a.
Like
a brand.
They're not mentioned anywhere. Oh, there is. There is the Mira one. Yeah.
Mira
okay.
Tidebreaker is what's called. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, these sort of teenage young adult graphic novels, but it's not a straightforward Catwoman story. It is kind of a reimagining a little bit.
Okay.
So this little story here is very early on I think in the book, and Selina, who becomes Catwoman obviously at some point in her life, is living at home with her mother and her mother's boyfriend, who seems as though he's a bit of an arse.
Not a really character.
And she doesn't seem to get on with him. He seems to kind of bully her a bit and stuff. It's not obvious here, but it's not shown in any real way. But you kind of get the feeling that she's distanced from her mum and so she's often out by herself, getting away from the house. And she discovers a cat, a little kitten, kind of in rubbish, and decides to take it home, knowing full well that her mum's boyfriend is going to hate the idea of that. And you see her and go to school and things, so she's about sort of 15 years old or something. You see her go to school, and there's a guy called Bruce at school with her.
Okay.
Guess who that is? So clearly, it's reimagining completely.
Absolutely
the kind of.
Reminds me of Gotham a wee bit.
Yeah,
Gotham
a little bit like Gotham did. But it's not like Gotham at all. It's the Catwoman Selina here. It's quite different, and she's not in any shape or form looking like she could be Catwoman. So clearly, maybe something happens throughout the story. So not too many spoilers in there, but yeah, she takes the cat home, and obviously that's going to cause problems. It's quite interesting. It is that young adult teen sort of thing, and not really my cup of tea. And I think the artwork kind of shows it as well, because this kind of semi-realistic but nice clean lines is very much a style that you see in a lot of young adult or teen books at the moment. This sort of style, and often that monochrome as well that we've got. It's quite a popular thing. It marks it out almost as that being for that audience. It's just become a thing.
I like it as a stylistic choice. So I like I do like that way of depicting like shadow, for example, and there's this one panel here that's pulled off where the darkness of the cupboard behind her is done in a different colour, but you can still see what it's supposed to be. It adds depth to the panel quite subtly, I think.
And it's an interesting story. It is a genuinely good story. It's well drawn. Stories told really well, mostly through Selina's thoughts, I would say, more than anything else.
So they're playing around with. I know there's a toy line called I can't remember what the toy line's called, but it is all the super heroines of the DC universe done kind of Barbie-esque.
I see.
And also there's a Raven sneak peek at the back of this. Is again that kind of maybe a line of young female depictions of popular DC characters.
So Raven from Titans has got a little short story at the end, which also involves cats, interestingly. So maybe there's a little theme there. Not my type of book at all, but I could see it real appealing to that audience for sure. Probably a young female audience. And that's why I picked it up, because it's something different. It's something I wouldn't normally read.
Quite interested to see where that.
To see, yeah. Well, it's a big book. It's a chunky book. That's a graphic novel that's around, so you can go and pick it up. I think the graphic novel came out at the start of the year, so it's been around for a wee while. And I think I'd seen it and kind of was quite interested in it. I mean, I saw the free comic book deal and I thought, I'm going to just check that out, see what it's about.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I jump onto
it. Yeah, let's do it.
I picked up from Little Shop of Heroes Animosity Tales by Aftershock Comics, written by is Marguerite or
Marguerite Bennett?
Marguerite Bennett. Yeah, I'm really bad with names. And drawn by Elton Tomasi. Animosity Tales is it's a one-shot story that exists within a universe of a series called Animosity, which I didn't know about. It's been around since 2017, and from what I understand, it's been picked up by I think it said Lionsgate are going to do are going to adapt it into a movie or some sort of series.
Yeah.
It's a story about like what would happen if animals all of a sudden gained human intellect, and what would happen if that was to be the case. So the animals start to, I think, gain this intellect with a twist being that they retain their memories from pre gaining sentience. So not only are they sentient, but they remember how humans are treating them and the world around them.
Okay.
So it's kind of post-apocalyptic. It's got a sort of apocalyptic vibe to it as well as a result. I think it's on issue 20 something. And I say I'd never heard of it. I was actually drawn by the cover, which we've talked about before. So the cover's got these dark main characters in the background, and then a neon fish at the front. And the fish actually in the comic is called Neon. Which it was really good. I find it kind of black comedy. The fish has a love obsession with the main character, and that was quite funny. Meredith is her name. So he as he's gaining sentience, he's viewing the world from his fishbowl. You know, he's got human intellect, but all his intelligence and all his world understanding is based on where Meredith has put his fishbowl. So if she's a young woman, she's maybe in her late teens, early 20s, and she's watching a lot of sort of young, sort of female aimed, targeted media on like Netflix. So she's watching a lot like Buffy and so his understanding of the universe is formed on fairy tales and it makes him a really interesting character. So this is all going on. Meredith realizes that the world is essentially ending, and she wants to save her part of it, which basically is her part-time job at a tropical fish shop down the road. So she goes down there. The guy that owns the shop he's saying like, look, I know this is your world, but I've got a wife and kids. So he gives her the keys. He gives her the keys to the shop and a huge transport lorry outside where they would transport the fish, and he helps her load it with everything they would need to keep these fish alive. And her sole aim in life from this point on is to protect this group of sentient fish from a world that once, so the seagulls have gained human intelligence, so they now know that why should we go to the sea when we can just go to pet shops? It's, literally fish in a barrel. I thought it was a really interesting concept. It has made me want to read the main series. I thought it was really interestingly drawn. I'm quite sad that actually this is just a one shot. It's just one character's perspective of this event, and the actual main series is about a completely different set of characters. I quite liked the Neon Meredith partnership. What I really liked about the pictures and the drawings is really colourful. Obviously Neon is a bright colourful fish anyway, but I feel like the pages are moving. There's some really very dramatic, just very. I thought it looks like everything's moving. It looks like I'm going to turn the light on so we can see. No, I'm not. I just thought it was paced well, and I thought the pictures reflected that everything's moving.
Show it to the camera.
So it's gone a bit dark in here.
I'm quite interested about it. It's Marguerite Bennett that wrote it. I'm wondering if she's like the originator of the story. if she came up
I
with
think
this.
she did. I think that's it.
Because the only work I know of hers previously was she did bombshells for DC.
Oh yeah.
You know, at least the first few arcs, I think, on the bombshells, which was quite an interesting remake of the DC female superheroes and supervillains kind of as well, because Harley Quinn and Wonder Woman, etc., all kind of team up, and they're in sort of World War II era.
Oh,
That was quite interesting.
Yeah, just saying there, she is the creator as well as the writer, so okay. I thought that was the case before you'd even asked, but no, it's a really interesting concept for a book, and one I really enjoyed reading. Yeah. And as I say, once the Marvel and DC events of the summer kind of wind down, I will probably chase up the trade paperbacks of this to catch up with the series. It's rather quite interesting.
I think we're probably ready for the next beer, so we just go for this one.
Absolutely.
So this is This Elevator by Manual. So, unusual name, very stylish, unusual design.
It's just unusual, I thought.
Everything's weird about it. It's called The Elevator, but it's got a picture of some steps in it, some stairs. So it's kind of odd. Let's pour you some of this. Let's see what this is going to be like.
So
similar colour to the previous beer, maybe a little bit lighter, cloudier as well. More of a head on it too. So Manual's a Dundee based company. I can smell it without. Yeah, I just caught the whiff of it.
That orange.
Yeah, it's got a really orangey. Yeah,
particularly. As I'm sure you have as well. I've been doing kind of a research on them. They're trying to read up on these books. So this has been dry hopped. I don't know what drying does to the hops.
I don't know if it makes it intensifies it. Perhaps I don't know. Yeah, so we've got Amarillo and Vic Secret hops in this.
Different blends of yeast as well. So
yeah, it's certainly still a fruitiness on the tongue. The grapefruit taste is coming through a little bit there, a wee bit of orange. Something else. In fact, it reminds me of what was the one that we had that was a bit like umbongo, but it's nowhere as strong as that. But it's got that kind of mixture of.
What was that one? I like that one. No, it's good. I'm looking for, as I say, I think the can and the blurb for it talks about pine. I'm trying to find that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the orange and the grapefruit is.
I'm not getting a pine at all. You know, if you imagine walking through a pine forest and and getting that strong smell, I'm not noticing that at all.
It's not It's kind of what the flavour is sitting at the front. There's not really much coming through at the back. I'm not finding a bitter, any real kind of strong aftertaste.
No, it's kind of just very smooth aftertaste. It doesn't linger too long. You get all the taste up front, as you said.
I love that. It's
I think that's, for me, that's more interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Than the Holyrood.
Absolutely,
just the wee mixture of flavours in there. Just make that a wee bit more interesting.
Yes, for those, my wife is we're pre-recording, so my wife's walking through trying to do it quietly and.
Don't worry about it.
There we go. I just broke a pen. It was a Kath Kidston pen as well. I'm a bit glad about that. I bought a Kath Kidston pen in a shop about a year ago. Yes, another comic. That was good. Interesting is the word I like to use.
It's more interesting than the Holyrood, just because of the mixture of flavours in there and smells. Okay, so my second and final comic this week is Deadly Class Killer Set. So this is just again a little one-off story based in this ongoing series which has been around for about 5 years called Deadly Class. And the kind of backstory of this is that there is a school called King's Dominion, and it's in San Francisco, and it basically trains the next generation of the world's assassins.
Sounds
Deadly
like everything
Class.
else, doesn't it?
And it's kind of sounds a bit samey, that this has kind of been done before. And as far as I know, the main series and the TV show that's on Sci-Fi Channel, and has been since about the start of the year, I think, follows a character called Marcus, who's a kind of street kid that's been orphaned and somehow gets taken into the school to be trained up as an assassin. And it's about him and all his classmates, and he gets on with some of the classmates and doesn't get on with some others. But this particular story focuses on a Russian called Victor, of course. Yeah, so we're not exactly breaking new ground here, and it mainly follows a little story of his. So the classmates all decide to, or many of them decide to go out on the town to some gig one night to see this band. And Victor tags along. He doesn't seem like the kind of person that would go to a gig. Doesn't he gets the name of the band wrong. Yeah. He doesn't seem to know how to dance or anything. But it turns out that he's actually on an assassination mission. Oh, okay. So it's kind of a cover. While everybody's there, he's going to use this as a cover to go and do this mission. And we find out that he's got it's almost a personal vendetta. Okay. I won't say any more because you might pick this up and read it. Yeah. I like the art style was very different from the other comic that I chose, Under the Moon. So this is a much more looser kind of feel to the artwork, and I'll just kind of show that.
Reminds me a wee bit of, is it Merrick a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah,
this dark horse kind of.
Yeah, for sure. The dark colours. I think. Like this nice image here of the alleyway, using these deep dark colours. It's very kind of nice stylistic choice. But also bits of the story are told in colours. So when the kids are all at the gig, there's this kind of bluey purple background colour. Yeah. And then when Victor goes off to do his bit, it starts to go into reds and oranges. Okay. So, but what's nice there is it then has several pages that are laid out like this, where we see both stories simultaneously. So one panel's got the blue-black colour, but the blue purple colour, which is the concert, and then we've got the red panels with Victor's story that are mixed together using this very weird 15 square panels layout. In one piece. And all the action tends to happen on these kind of small panels, which is a normal kind of technique in visual storytelling. So you want it to be fast paced and lots of small panels, and then it does kind of slow out a little bit. And then
I like that one, the cross panel, but it's one image. Or
which one?
That's pretty cool. Even though they're sticking to the lots of panels one page, but actually it's...
They sometimes break it up and use it in a slightly different way. Yeah. And again, this is a flashback here where you actually find out about his mission and what he's doing. So it's flashing back to a few hours before when he gets told what his mission is, and that's using a different colour as the background. So nice stylistic choices. I think the kind of looser pen work works better for the action kind of sequences as well, and the colours really give it that dark kind of feeling, which has got it's a pretty violent kind of story as far as I'm aware. The mainstream comic.
I can't actually say I've heard of it before you.
I'd come across it. I'd seen it and was intrigued by it, and I kind of got this mixed up with Umbrella Academy. Yeah. And I actually thought Umbrella Academy's story was this one's story when it was coming on TV, and I thought, that's not about the kids that have been trained as assassins.
So it reminds me of Kingsman as well.
So there's lots of other stories that have comic books, TV shows, movies that have kind of explored this sort of idea. I don't know really what sets this one aside, if there is anything special about it, that really makes it different. I like this little one-off story. Yeah. I would probably like to read a bit more of the mainstream one now, just to get a bit of a handle on it, or maybe watch the TV show.
So I quite like about I think that's the main goal of Free Comic Book Day in general with these things, isn't it? It's the take. Obviously, it's a bit different for us. We read comics anyway, but it's to catch people's attention to stuff they normally wouldn't read, because obviously we would maybe not spend money on Deadly Class or Take a Punt or something like that.
Interestingly, I was having a similar conversation about what Free Comic Book Day is really about with our local comic book owner, comic shop owner, Albie. And especially when they first took part in Free Comic Book Day. And Free Comic Book Day, for those of you that don't know about it, has been ongoing for many years. And there's one in the first Saturday of May, and there's also one around Halloween time. And comic book shops buy in special comics marked up Free Comic Book Day. They buy them in to give away for free. And this happens all over the world at the same time. There are a kind of a set of main comics that you can get, and there are a kind of higher tier of comics as well, but you've got to like buy more to be able to access those. So not all comic shops will have the same ones. And some comic book shops love the idea of Free Comic Book Day because it maybe draws in a few more people that wouldn't normally come into their shop. And then other people, I have heard, other comic shop owners hate it, but they feel they have to do it.
Kind of expected.
You know, and I think at a local comic shop, it's more about kind of just bringing people in and getting people reading, which is kind of one of the aims of a local comic shop. Is they have a kind of their books for schools charity that they do. You know, they raise money for books for schools, and they're really interested in getting people reading more. And it's not about ongoing customers and things. However, a few customers that do go regularly, like myself, will pick up a book like this at Free Comic Book Day and think, actually, I'm going to try this out, or I'm going to get the full version of maybe Under the Moon or whatever. And I've certainly done that in the past.
Absolutely. Almost every time I've been to Free Comic Book Day, I've picked up 2 series as a result of. I think it's a really cool initiative. Interestingly, what's Albie's view on it then? Does he quite like? Does he fall into the like it camp?
He likes it, though he doesn't see it as a money maker. It's not about drawing people in, new people in. A lot of new people do come to the shop, for the free comics and things. But he says it's more about getting people reading. Is what he does it for. So very altruistic, I think. But for me, it's trying something different, and I'll pick up things that I wouldn't normally read because I'm interested. I just want to know what it's about.
Absolutely.
And whether it might be something I might read or not.
It's certainly. I think it's great, and it has allowed me to, as a reader who would possibly be too nervous to explore, like beyond the tried and tested formulas of DC's and Marvel stuff. And I love what Aftershock put out, for example. I really like what Dynamite and what Image put out. But it's stuff I wouldn't have normally explored before that.
I suppose quite a lot of the Free Comic Book Day stuff is from the smaller publishers, which a lot of people might not be familiar with. But they're actually the publishers doing more interesting things like Animosity and etc. The ones that we've looked at in the previous weeks as well, wherein the artists and writers maybe have a bit more freedom to do
explore ideas.
Well, in fact, Animosity. Here's Marguerite Bennett, who's well known for her DC bombshells, doing kind of straightforward.
Create her own things.
But it's interesting to see what they would do if they were given their chance to come up with their own stories.
Absolutely.
Right, I'm going to crack open this one. So we have a pint of a Ekuanot. Ekuanot. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce this.
I think it's probably Ekuanot because I think it's a play on words. I looked up Arbor Brewing Company for this podcast, and they've been going since 2007.
Well, Arbor, I've had a couple of their beers before, and I've always liked them. I thought they were wonderful. But the very first beer I got from the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant was one of these, and I thought it was awesome. And almost every time I go back, I buy one because they're quite good value, big tins. You get a whole pint there, and I just haven't been disappointed. So let's have a look at this. So nice yellow colour, so much more yellow than the previous two, which were a kind of orangey amber colour. Nice head on it as well, big head on it. It could just be my pouring style. A little bit cloudy.
I messed up a pour this week, and my wife, who doesn't really care, even she knows, she's like, "What have you done to that?" I couldn't honestly say what I've done.
And I did it go everywhere.
So this is one of, as I say, 2007. They've got over 60 beers, and they've all got amazing names. That's what I'm saying. This, and a lot of them are kind of plays on words. Certainly, what's I've not got a description on what we should be looking at.
Well, this one again has got a lot of fruit about it. Let's see what we're getting from the nose. Yeah, I'm getting a bit of kind of citrusy.
Yeah. Trying to work out if it's anything in particular. Is it citrus? Is that citrus?
Not really, I don't know. I don't know my fruits terribly well. I should try it.
It is citrus, but then I don't want to be like, oh, it's lemon in case it's kind of...
There's a tangy flavour in
lemon
there.
in there.
I'm getting a wee bit of lemon, yeah, for sure. Right, let's have a look. Let's see what we've got here. Citrus, melon. Did you get melon?
Oh, melon.
Papaya.
Okay. Actually, now that you're throwing in like random fruits, I didn't even think about going down like passion, papaya.
Papaya. I couldn't say what papaya tastes like. I'm not sure, but
it's an interesting flavour. Really crisp.
Yeah.
That you mentioned things like papaya, I'm kind of drawn to more kind of. You say umbunga before. I'm thinking Kiora.
Yeah. Quite a bit of bitterness in the kind of long.
Which I wasn't expecting from the smell.
Yeah, much better. This is 5%.
It's gluten free as well. This is the one you want to talk about.
Yeah, I've certainly seen a lot more gluten-free beers on the market. So as I'm not, I don't have celiac disease myself, but my daughter has, and so has my father-in-law. And he was diagnosed quite a number of years ago, and since then has pretty much had to drink cider because getting gluten-free beer is quite difficult. But there's about a dozen in our local beer shop.
Yeah, sure.
And I picked this one up because I thought, it's worth a look, and we might do a gluten-free week actually on our podcast. That might be a good thing to do.
I think I've got an amazing idea, or just general.
Yeah.
So the beer that I drink makes the point of mentioning it's vegan as well. I don't know if there's additives that pull it away from being classed as vegan, but I do know that there's a lot of beers that will tell you it's vegan friendly.
Yeah, I think we saw that in maybe one or two. In fact,
I suppose that there's a lot of beers that you can't drink, like the porter, for example.
This elevator from Manual, that says it's suitable for vegans.
I'm thinking maybe it's like Tiny Rebel Stay Puffed is possibly not suitable for vegans because they maybe have like milk or.
Yes, and the Holyrood one, it contains gluten, it says, so they're getting better at labelling these things.
It's not something you normally associate with beer as kind of like dietary.
Yeah, especially beer and gluten free, because the main things that you get gluten from are wheat and barley, cereals, that kind of thing. So, but you do get gluten free wheats and stuff. Obviously, they've grown cereals that we've got, and you can make beer from cereals that don't have gluten in it, like rice and things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's quite possible to make beer that way. So it does sometimes make the beer quite different.
Yeah.
And what the gluten does is, in your bowels, it basically closes off areas in the bowel that allow minerals and vitamins to get into the body.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't get all those vitamins and minerals, and you become anemic. You're over a long space of time. You could get brittle bones, and a whole range of things could happen to you.
Horrible health issues.
But you don't really know about it. You might have a slight upset stomach. Some people don't have any kind of symptoms at all. So great to see a lot more of these on the market, and we'll certainly try a few.
Yeah, that one's certainly nice. I notice as we're talking, we're drinking, which kind of adds that sort of sessional value. There's some beers we've had on the show that we've been drinking, and we've actually stopped drinking as we're talking. And I think if the drink can accompany the conversation, that's almost
it's okay.
It's a compliment in itself. My last comics now, mine was kind of like a two-parter. I read part 2 on the laptop, which we're recording this on, so apologies, but it can be accessed on Comixology and Titan Comics for free because it was part of last year's comics free comic book day. But yeah, I was asked by my friend Scott Burry to review Tank Girl, which I was right into when I was like 17, 18, and there was that movie with Laurie Petty and stuff. It was interesting. I remember enjoying it tremendously when I was younger, and I thought it would be quite interesting to revisit something I already owned, and remember being quite a large part of my childhood. I did, until I realised that going to teacher training and training to be a teacher wouldn't be a good idea to get that tattooed on my arm. That was
probably not. Yeah.
The front cover of the Tank Girl Volume 1 full colour compendium was going to be my first tattoo. I actually got the Daredevil logo on my leg instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, what can we say about Tank Girl that's not already been said? I was looking at it from the perspective that, as I say, when I first read it, I thought I was a relatively educated, university-headed rebel that was going to take on the system from the inside. And obviously, I think that's pretty much what all 17 and 18-year-olds think at the time. Written, created by James Hewlett and drawn by Alan Martin. Obviously, Hewlett went on to amazing fame by working with Damon from
drawing the Gorillas characters.
But obviously, Tank Girl was a massive success for him and Alan Martin at the time as well, of their publication.
A lot of people were drawn to it because of the kind of punk aesthetic and it, the look, the kind of and the covers anyway were always kind of very colourful.
The covers are stunning. I think the artwork in general is stunning. What's going on in the pages? I'll just grab some random stuff.
It's very busy. I seem to remember it always been very busy. There was
loads of speech bubbles.
And it also has. Was Tank Girl ever in 2000 AD? I'm not sure, but it's got that feel because Jamie Hewlett was working at 2000 AD at the time. And I think a lot of people were familiar with his artwork, and it certainly has a kind of 2000 AD vibe about it.
It does a lot, and that's what I actually wanted to say in my review. So, at first, I started reading through it, and at first I wasn't finding myself enjoying it as much as I had when I was younger. And I don't know if maybe I'm just a wee bit older now, and looking at it from a more critical eye rather than somebody that was just looking to enjoy a comic book when they were 17 or 18. What I did notice is the first couple of stories, they're quite short, so it's a mashup of stories that are maybe like 10 pages. There's maybe 10 pages a story, but these would have been in not a compendium, like you say, 2000 AD. So this would have been one story in a comic of about 5 or 6. So I felt that was kind of lacking. I felt like it was part of a bigger entity, but the rest of the entity wasn't there. So I was reading through it. I was ready for another comic, and I was just being met with another Tank Girl script. But yeah, it was syndicated into a larger multiple story comics. Issue 1 first appeared in Deadline in 1988. So that, which I think was.
So it was Deadline.
Deadline, that's the same in 2018. What I think is quite interesting, and I read up a wee bit about the creative process behind these, and there's a really awesome, and actually one of the bits I enjoyed the most is there's a short story at the start of Volume 1, and there's also there's a bit by Alan Martin, who was one of the artists, who basically telling you the story of how him and Jamie put the Tank Girl together, and it basically they look at Tank Girl, particularly this release, as Tank Girl at its best. And they talk about how a lot of these comics came from them. Pretty much their creative process revolved around deadlines on Friday. It's now Wednesday. Let's just stay up and get it done. And so that anarchy and that throwing random ideas that just get stuff together comes across in the anarchy of the book. I think it's very much, particularly this one's very much of its time. Think back to 1988 and what boys would have been doing in 1988. There would have been no YouTube or anything to distract them. They would have just been, been Rick Mail VHSs and stuff.
Playing video games, watching. I'm thinking what would be on TV at the time. But you're right, young ones would be around at that time.
So it reminded me of young ones, sort of early Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer stuff. It's just that kind of slapsticky kind of. So yeah, I enjoyed it as a kind of throwback to 80s counterculture. You know, obviously kind of that counterculture has got a leftish vibe because of the government that was in at the time and stuff like that. And I enjoyed it. As I say, I felt like it should have been part of something bigger, and it was at the time. But you know, I have been enjoying it. I have been reading through it throughout the week. I did in the interests of science. Thought it'd be interesting to look at what Tank Girl looks like 30 years later. So obviously there was a free comic book day release for Tank Girl, which I didn't pick up last year, and I don't know why. And I'm pretty sure the little shop of heroes had it, and I can remember looking at it, but grabbing something else. I don't know why I did that. And actually, so I was interested in what Tank Girl was 30 years from now. So last year they did bring out Tank Girl, and it was written again, but written and drawn by the old creative team. But they also, obviously Tank Girl's been around for more than 30 years now. So there's been creative inclusion from other artists and other writers who have become fan favourites for those that have kept up with what's going on. So it's the last year's release was actually quite nice. I read it and quite enjoyed it. There was a cool nostalgic value to it. But also, it told the idea was behind it is that the story wasn't as if I go back to a kind of review perspective, it wasn't as anarchic. What's the word? What's to describe anarchy? But it was pretty funny. The whole story revolves around the fact that every year for 3 decades, Tank Girls looked out this one guy and punched him in the face on her birthday. And it's a story of why she decides, why do you keep looking out this one guy and giving him a swift hook in the morning? So on whatever this is, the 30th anniversary of her finding this guy and decking him, he's hidden. So she's raging because he's ruining the tradition of being punched in the face. And so they reflect on Tank Girl's life, and it does provide the opportunity for the flashbacks to be drawn by the other artists.
Okay.
And some of them are quite cool. It changes the tone quite a lot because the sort of current story that frames all the flashback sequences is very of today. I thought it reminded me of actually Animosity tales in terms of its artistic drawings, and then it would flash back to these flashback sequences that were drawn very much like late 80s, early 90s Tank Girl stuff, which was quite interesting. And I read the whole thing quite quickly and I enjoyed it. It made sense, which a lot of old Tank Girl stories in particular didn't do. It didn't feel like there was sometimes when you read some of the older Tank Girl stuff, it's just, it exists, there's no story, there's no plot, whereas this did have a thing, and it was quite clever as a result. Also makes fun of itself, which was something Tank Girl always did. So you get the history of Tank Girl, but told as if have you ever seen that programme Drunk Histories, where they get celebrities to tell you, you check this out, it's quite funny. For anyone that's not seen it, it's on the Comedy Central channel on Sky. It's called Drunk Histories, and they basically just get comedians drunk and have them tell a historical story of something that happened in history, but obviously it's full of conjecture and nonsense because they're making often surrealist style comics tell stories from history. And this felt a bit like that. So they talk about the film, but they describe it as being the thing that ruined Tank Girl's career. So there's a knowing nod to we sold this script to Hollywood and they butchered it, which they did. And just stuff like that. It's quite cool. Very self-referential. It is amazing, as to say, that they look back at what happened in the 90s with Tank Girl, and they're able to now acknowledge 25 years later that selling it to Hollywood and selling it to America ruined what was a very British institution. And I thought it was really good. So if you haven't checked out, you can get it for free on Comixology and all the places you would look for comic books online. I wouldn't know where to even think if you wanted to have the actual physical copy, because it was a free handout last year.
Yeah, but it might be hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, but no, it was really good. And again, like all free comic book day aims, it makes me want to actually, I want to see what was Tank Girl doing 5 years ago. Why are these guys that drew it so popular? That they would come back to do a 30th anniversary comic. So it was just cool. So thank you, Scott, for actually suggesting that we do that, because I don't regret it. We've got one last beer.
We have. This is Tinkletop from Abernyte Brewery. So this is the wee brewery between Dundee and Perth.
Yeah.
Carse of Gowrie, I think the area is called. So I'm going to give this one a wee go, see what this is like.
These guys are a microbrewery. I read the guys.
I don't know how big these are. I haven't seen many of their beers. I have to say this is a new brewery for me.
Yeah, I read up on them, and the guys are, even though they're Donnie and Ian, the guys that came over the brewery, they were this was a hobby for them in 2016. So the fact that we're now 30 miles down the road trying out their beer,
bit darker, more amber look about it.
Yeah.
Reasonable head, very clear looking. Looks really clear. What kind of nose it's got? Let's see what that smells like.
3.7% APV, I think.
No, I think it's be more
Was
than that. 4.1, I think.
Oh, wow. Not getting much from this in the nose.
Not really. I'm getting a slight sweetness in the nose.
Malty caramelly kind of.
Maybe. Certainly no fruit this time.
Yeah. Not massively complex. There's not much fruitiness in the taste.
No. Oh, I think there's a slight nuttiness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly not fruit like we've had in the
pretty much
all of the previous beers. If anything, I would say a kind of slightly nutty flavour, malty flavour. It's got definitely a bit of malt in there.
So it's a chestnut coloured.
Yeah, it is. It's got a deep ambery colour.
Vegan friendly again. I'm going to draw the. Pardon me. They claim to be using a mash temperature, like they raise the temperature through a series of rests, which allows them to modify the way the finished beer feels in the palate.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know what I feel on the palate, to be honest.
I'm getting a dryness from it compared to the previous ones, and my palate's going dry really quickly.
Which is something that we've talked about is associated with some of the sort of smaller batch brews. It's not unpleasant. I know we tried something a couple of weeks ago that you were getting really quite agitated at how dry your mouth was going. I can't remember what it was, but
yeah, I'm feeling a little bit too dry for me, and I think I'd be wanting to drink something, something else
absolutely.
soon after it. But I'm enjoying it. It's tasty.
I want a snack that's got a wee bit of
perhaps, yeah.
I would drink it, but it's not as sessional as everything else we've drunk. I'd like to try more from Abernyte Brewery.
It's fairly pleasant. It's a big bottle.
I mean, it's not claiming to be fruity, and I don't know if that's maybe just what I want.
I don't think it's terribly expensive either. I think it's fairly inexpensive stuff.
I'd like to see what they would do with something a wee bit fruitier, because actually I like that, but I'm wanting something fruity. I don't know if that's just because of what we've had elsewhere.
Perhaps,
in the session,
it's very noticeable that it's different from the others. So I suppose we're kind of thinking, what did we like the best out of these four? Okay,
I like the middle two. My favourites.
Which middle two?
The Arbor and the Elevator.
For sure.
Were my
two
favourites.
Yeah, that's true. They're my favourites as well. Anything there particularly?
I don't know. I found myself knocked back a wee bit by the.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to the Ekuanot Arbor, and let's just have a wee taste of that again. Just a wee reminder. Refresh our palate on that. Let's just see what we think there.
Right, that's kept its head despite you opening a can. It's not.
Yeah. I really like the smell of it.
I really like the taste in that as well, and I like that's a pint as well. I know that sounds really silly, but I like knowing I would buy like 4 or 5 cans of that and have that's my night. Yeah, it's really good. What was the ABV? So it's 5% as well, rather than a. They're both. It's 5.5.
5.5 for this elevator from manual. So it's again refresh our palate on that one. Let's put a wee bit more of that and just see what we think.
And the aromas in that are nice.
Oh, it's really strong. Yeah, I'm really getting that fruity smell from it. And in the flavour as well.
Oh, I don't know. This is the hardest one.
This is a tough one. I'm edging towards the manuals. This elevator, personally.
Yeah, it's more interesting. Does that the word? I don't know. Did we say that this elevator was more interesting? So when we get things, I get quite confused by what's going on.
Well, I think we said that. What one did we do? Second? Was this second?
That was there.
I forgot.
Yeah. Science.
It's all good beer.
Beer science.
I'm torn between.
I'm massively torn because you're leaning towards the manual.
But I'm going to have to taste the other one again.
So I'm leaning towards Arbor more.
Arbor ales.
There's
enough to say I've not had an Arbor ale that I've not enjoyed before. This is certainly pleasant.
I'm more interested in what's going on, but then in the Arbor, to be honest,
it's smoother.
It's smoother,
much smoother,
and there's more. I prefer that one.
Actually, now that we're going again, I'm liking the smoothness of that. I would drink that more. I think it's really close.
It's so close.
It's very close, but it's definitely between manuals, this elevator, or Arbor's Ekuanot.
Will we put them up to some sort of public vote and see maybe?
No. We have to decide. We have to decide.
Oh, okay.
We have to decide. Well, I'm going to go because it's gluten free as well.
It's a bigger can.
It's a bigger can.
So stupid,
but there's a bit more bang for your buck there.
Literally more bang for your buck.
The smoothness of it, yeah. Okay, let's go.
Awesome.
For the Arbor's Ekuanot, another gluten free beer, pale ale. So I think this is a
beer of the week. That was the
Really?
hardest one though.
That was tough. And
not manual for really.
It's a close run thing, and enjoyed the Holyrood from Stewart Brewing.
Yeah.
And the Tinkletop from Abernyte.
I want to try more Abernyte. And obviously I drink Stewart Brewing all the time because it's quite easily accessible in our area of the world. I've had about 4 of them this week, I think. But yeah, I really want to see more of Abernyte. Next week I have no idea what I'm doing for comics next week. I've not decided yet.
Me neither.
Probably an update on what's going on in Marvel, because that's pretty much all.
Yeah.
That
I might just do some trade paperbacks.
Yeah.
I might have that I've read recently. So.
But beer wise, I think we need to come up with a gimmick for comics, but we've got a gimmick for our beer next week. I think.
Oh boy! Yeah.
I thought it's episode 6, so I just thought, why don't we just stick to beers that have a volume ABV of 6% or more? And I got a bit silly.
It's going to be fun, isn't it?
There's one that's coffee flavoured. There's
coffee
one that's
flavoured.
Yeah, it's another, but it's Overtone. So Overtone are going to be back next week.
Okay. Yeah.
One by.
They haven't disappointed us so far.
A Tempest Brewing. That's got jalapeno in it.
Really?
Which I'm really quite interested in. A beer from Kelty, a microbrewery from Kelty called Blunt Chisel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's a 6%er, and Windswept, a 6 point or a 7%er from Windswept, which I picked up.
Oh, good. So, I had a Windswept there.
We were saying that we both enjoyed Windswept stuff. So
we were good.
I'm actually quite excited about what we're going to be drinking next week, and hopefully
coffee, chili, And
it's just strong beer.
Strong beer. Wow. Okay. Right.
I think they're all
limber up for that one.
I think they're all Scottish as well, which is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so join us next week while we try and survive.
For sure. Yeah. 6% plus. Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.